In 2018, there were over 1.7 million new cancer patients in the United States alone. Many of those people were treated with radiation therapy, but how does it work and what are the consequences? Radiation therapy is most often done with X-rays, which are a form of light on the electromagnetic spectrum that have enough energy to penetrate our bodies and damage cells. We usually encounter X-rays at the doctor when we break bones or at the airport when we go through security, but unlike radiation therapy, these sources emit very low doses of radiation and don't cause significant damage to our cells. During radiation therapy, X-ray photons damage cells by interacting with electrons and atoms. When a photon collides with an electron, it transfers enough energy that the electron will either move up in energy level or be forced from its orbit entirely, which is called ionization. This can break bonds in molecules and create unstable ions called radicals. A good example of this is when X-ray photons interact with water molecules, which make up the majority of our bodies. When an electron is removed from a water molecule, a positively charged water radical is formed. This radical is extremely reactive, and it wants to bond with whatever's available, including the molecules that make up cells' DNA. Because cancer cells divide so quickly, they don't have time to repair their DNA once it's damaged, and they'll die off. One problem with radiation therapy is that healthy cells that divide quickly, such as the ones in our hair or the lining of our stomachs, also have trouble recovering from radiation, which is why patients often experience hair loss or nausea when those cells are irradiated. When treating a tumor with X-ray radiation, beams are directed from several angles so that they overlap at the tumor site. This way, the tumor receives many times more radiation than surrounding healthy cells. While X-ray technology continues to improve, some people believe the future of radiation therapy lies in protons. Proton beams directed out of particle accelerators damage cells in a similar way to X-rays because they collide with atoms and rearrange molecules. The difference between the two lies in something called a Bragg peak. If we were to look at a graph comparing the distance into a body a beam has traveled and its dose or damage to cells, we would see something like this. X-rays travel all the way through a patient's body and do an approximately consistent amount of damage the entire way through. Protons, on the other hand, have a penetration range, and they do very little damage to cells beyond that point. The curve for protons would look something like this, because they have stronger interactions with molecules as they lose energy and slow to a stop. The Bragg peak occurs right before the proton comes to a stop, and it's where the most damage is deposited. Proton beams can be given the perfect amount of energy so that they reach their Bragg peak at the tumor site and deposit the most amount of damage there. Medical researchers across the globe are continually working on new and better cancer treatments. Radiation therapy is one of many. Some believe that time and money should be spent developing X-ray technology, some believe in proton beams, and others think that using the two together is the most effective strategy. Regardless, the more we can understand and improve upon these technologies, the more those who need it will have access to the best treatment available.